as I said before.
Wow. Let me jump right in here. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I was trying to see why I wasn't up on Twitch. And I had what I thought was a pretty sweet little kind of semi-provocative title. Nothing huge. It was Bless You, Senator Blackburn, you magnificent moron. And the only reason I added the magnificent moron thing was that I thought some of the folks that were in my regular chat room might react negatively and not get that I was being ironic, which I don't understand, but okay. And in that process, I just kind of added the little, tickly addendum to the end of it. And it wouldn't go through on Twitch. So I changed the name of my stream to hello. And wouldn't you know it, popped right the hell on. Yeah, that was pretty great. So let me grab the video that I was sort of referencing in this. And man, there's a whole lot of dumb today. Who watched? Okay, hold on. While I'm looking this up, chat room. Who among you watched Trump's weird little response to the plane crash, because it's a terrible thing. In many ways, a 1 in a million situation. As many of you know, I have family FaceTime on Thursday, so that's why the show's an hour later, why it starts an hour later. And I was talking to my son, and I was like, we were talking about this, obviously, and he had seen Trump's response and was grossed out by it. And one of the things I wanted to get across to him, I was like, well, what would you do in a similar situation? How would you respond? What would you say in these circumstances? And he said a few things like, that he would reassure people. He also said he would give support to people who couldn't afford burial services, which I thought was an interesting little addendum. That was something he came up with on his own in this particular situation. But on top of it, one of the things, he was talking about is like, we're going to do everything we can to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I went, you do realize that on the one hand, you could batten down the hatches, change everything about this, and 2 weeks from now have a similar situation because it's such an anomaly that it was because it looks like, and we'll see, again, you don't know, there's so many moving parts in this circumstance that you can't actually say, all those areas that we work on and making sure planes are safe and other stuff, we're going to change all those things and make them better. That won't necessarily rule out the possibility of it happening. It's just the best you could do in that circumstance. You could do all those things and it could happen again in a few weeks. And specifically, you could do nothing and it never happens again. It's another 10 years that people's own sense of, oh my God, something happened, polices them internally, and they make sure that, it's kind of like that idea that the best time to go to a restaurant is right after it's reopened after being shut down by the health department, because that's the cleanest it has ever been, right? That you could literally do nothing, and that special circumstance, all the confluences, all those things could come together, would never come together at that kind of moment again. You understand what I'm saying? It's a crucial part of the conversation, that you could do everything you can and it could still happen, and you could do nothing at all and it might never happen again because there are so many moving parts. So this illusion of complexity, or the illusion of a lack of complexity, that there are simple solutions for it, that in and of itself can create this farce in your head. Now, those of you that are following my Substack, I just posted my first true post on there, and it went out right before the show, or I don't know, I scheduled it to go out a few minutes ago. Anyways, it's about the stroke of the pen fallacy. And I've talked about this a lot, but I figured I better get it on the record as something I thought up and get it out there, because it's a really important part of the conversation. And for those of you that don't know, and I think we're going to be up on, that's what we need to do. For those of you that are that have never heard it before, the concept is that there is an illusion that you can solve a lot of problems, but that there are people in power who can solve every problem that we have, or even some major ones, simply by the stroke of a pen. They could simply, if they would just sign an executive order, or they just sign this one thing, or they just write one check, this would solve all of this, it would solve this problem, whatever it is. Any homelessness, the nuclear threat, Iran, whatever it is. Like there's people who believe that the president of the United States, or the leader of organizations, or the head of a company, or whatever, believe that through the simple stroke of a pen, you could get rid of this problem. Now, there's two primary follow-on problems with that. There is no flappers tonight. Sorry, guys. They had to punt it again. So the first one will be next month. I apologize for the shift around. There are two areas. The problem with this idea is that it automatically assumes two things. You have to decide, whoever you believe this about, because it's impossible, because they can't actually sign it away. You can't actually magically make the problem go away with a stroke of a pen. Okay? because that's not possible, it forces the person who believes it to come up with two possible solutions in this circumstance. One being that, and they're all about the motivation of the person who is refusing to do this impossible thing. And the primary one is that they're stupid. TYT does this all the time, and so does Donald Trump. They both go, these people could just fix this so easily. They're so fucking stupid. They're just stupid. If they just did this, the whole thing would be better, right? That's the primary one. The problem with the stupid concept is you can't believe it for long, because at some point they've heard you. So stupid, what they really mean is ignorant, because stupid is knowing and not doing anyways, or knowing something and doing something anyways, even though it will be damaging. Once you know after a certain amount of time has passed that they're not stupid, then the only logical conclusion is that they're evil. Right? The only logical conclusion is that they're not signing it, not because they're dumb and they don't know, but because they don't want to solve the problem. They're making money from the problem, or they like the problem, or they hate the people that this problem affects. You follow me so far? So concept one is that they're dumb. Concept two is that they're evil. And if you start at two, you need to go no further. If you start at one, you will ultimately arrive at concept two. You will ultimately come to the conclusion that they're doing it because they haven't done it yet because they're evil, because they know about it. You've said it a bunch of times. All they have to do is do this to fix it. And if they're not doing that, even though, again, the reason they're not doing it is because it's fucking impossible, but you're leaving that unfalsifiable problem out. I have a cat hair on my lash because I've been cat snuggling. There, I admit it. That you will come to the conclusion that they are evil. Now, here's the issue. A lot of people know, outside of whoever's clamoring about this, slacktivists, activists, faux-gressives, maggots, whoever they are, they know it's not that easy. Most of the people around it know it's not that easy. Right? Somebody just said, until you come up with a why, you can't come up with a fix. No, that's not necessarily true. You can have a why or not. I mean, you got to know there's a gap there. If you're whatever the premise is, comes with a why. We need to solve homelessness because people can't live on the street. That's the why. The question is, how do you do it? You throw them in jail, or do you give them a free house, or do you charge them less rent, or do you leave them on their own to kind of pull themselves up? Right. That's when you get into the solution matrix of it, and that's why there are no partisan issues, only partisan solutions, and not all solutions are partisan. And it's very important to talk in those terms. So the issue with the stroke of the pen fallacy, and the ultimate belief that it makes you believe that if not the person you voted for, but someone behind them is evil for not doing this, even though it is not, and I want to be real clear on this, it is not easily solvable. Whatever this is, I'm talking about complex issues that people think can be solved in a simple way. Once you believe that about that person, you believe that they are evil or they're being controlled by evil people. You hear this shit all the time. Yes, Brianna Joy Gray is one of those folks, as is or was Jimmy Dore. I don't know what the fuck he believes actually anymore. There's a ton of folks, that believe it. That's why I wrote it up, because it's not a partisan idea. It's not a partisan problem even. So ultimately, though, you've got this issue. What will result from it? You will either be enraged and pushed towards a violent solution, revolution, which I believe is the 6-minute abs of democracy. It's bullshit. We already have a functioning system. It just takes more work to make it work right. And like a revolution would go, let's go back to monarchy. It's just fucking dumb. But there are people who throw that shit around. But the vast majority of people will either be victims of the people who sell lazy solutions like TYT, or fucking Newsmax for that matter, or they'll just disengage. And I think one of the issues that Democrats had whether it was Israel, Gaza, or like Ukraine and Russia, or it was Trump's legal things or whatever, it was that there was an oversimplification by a lot of people, that have far more reach than I do. Is that they were coaxed into believing that there was a simple solution. And so at a certain point, if you don't enact that simple solution, you're no good. You're evil. You're bad. Right? Okay. Now, there is, let me find the video I was talking about. That's in the, I put that in the Substack because I needed people to kind of articulate that as a thing. Okay. Now, let's get to, hold on one second. So, there was a moment, and I watched a bunch of the stuff today, obviously the hearings on people, and you could tell that Tulsi Gabbard's having a harder time than Kash Patel, but both of them are, probably got a certain level of protection around them as far as their votes. I think Tulsi's probably in a worse space because she used to be a Democrat, whereas Kash Patel has always been perceived as as on the MAGA train. Right? Yeah, Instagram's not coming up right now because I'm waiting for, I don't know why my my Notion won't update, so I can't get the wake up, you silly thing. Trying to get it up on there, but it won't do it. Hold on, let me try it again on here. Copy, in here. Paste, return. And then usually it updates on here, but it's not doing it, and I don't know why. Oh, maybe. Did it work? Hold on. Nope, not yet. Oh. Maybe if I put it down at the bottom of this. Sometimes it gets weird. Close, quit it, inbox. Updates, yada yada. I'll get it up as soon as I can, guys. It's just being a dick. Maybe I have to, because sometimes I have to close it out and it has to think for a little while. It has to contemplate its sins on the tree of woe. Now, let's jump in real quick. So, there was obvious back and forth, but during these nomination processes, where the Democrats were asking really difficult questions and were pressing them on things, and especially Tulsi Gabbard, I thought they did a masterful job. Schiff made quick work of this dipshit and really cornered him in some odd things that he just couldn't say. It was really peculiar, right? Yeah, Patel's terrible. That's not the point. The point is the senators, okay? So watch, because again, Trump has signed a legally binding executive order until I guess the Supreme Court finds it illegal, that there can be no weaponization of government. So anybody that feels like they're having the government weaponized against them on our side of the aisle can simply sue on the basis of that EO. I mean, and law, but whatever. But by making it so ham-handed and stupid, he sets himself up for him to actually be sued easier. But I want you to watch because we know the Democrats are going to attack, and so they're kind of prepped for it, and they just kind of run through this pat talk, like they just don't bother to move on these things. But when it comes to, they think it's going to be easy when the Republicans ask them a question. There's been a couple that have been okay. I was surprised at one of them who was just fuck the Jan 6ers really hard, literally. But well, you'll see why I like this. Do you see why I liked Blackburn's? So I'm not going to tell you what the name of this video is, but this is a slice of it. This is her 5 minutes or whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Patel, there is absolutely no doubt that you have the experience and the expertise to lead.
Yeah, there is. Of course, there's doubt. Stupid. If there was no doubt, you wouldn't even need a hearing at all. Of course, there's doubt, dummy. I hate these fucking bloviated. All right, I'll move on.
The FBI, and we welcome you here today. We are pleased that you are here. I've been listening to my colleagues across the dais, and listening to their questions, and it has led me to one thing. Why are the Democrats so afraid of you?
Because we value the country and we value the FBI, and we're afraid he will damage it and get people killed. Isn't that a good reason? That he's on the side of insurrectionists, that he was, and that he's posted images of him violently attacking members of Congress? That's enough. There doesn't. They fucking said so.
I don't know, Senator. You'd have to ask them.
Also, they're not afraid of him. They're disgusted by him, and they think he's unqualified, and that he will, if he runs the FBI, he will harm the organization. That's why. They're not afraid of him in that regard. They are, I think, concerned for the FBI and for the nation as a whole. And the fact that this motherfucker apparently wants to look the other way as serial killers roam the fucking country because it's not their main mission.
Well, I tell you what I think, and listening to their questions and your responses, which we appreciate, they know that you're going to go in and you're going to clean up that political cabal that has been over there for years. You are going to reposition the FBI to its core mission. You stated that earlier in this hearing, and
yeah, of course. And all of Trump's SCOTUS nominees believe that Roe v. Wade was settled law. You do realize there's a reason why we started putting people under oath, dipshit, right? Okay. Now, wait, though. It gets good. Like, this is the point where I'm watching this. This is my reaction when I was watching it the first time. I was like, fuck you, lady. But then she turns. Something magical happens.
there will be no more political persecutions and no more two tiers of justice, and they have
All right, cool. Excellent. There never have been. So, again, easy to clean up a spill that never occurred.
liked having two tiers of justice. They have enjoyed it. And
Well, it's sexy, you know what I mean? It's and it goes with everything, kind of like a black tie, you know what I mean? You can't really screw it up. It's the granimals of justice.
it has helped them. They think in their political mission, they've enjoyed targeting Catholics. They've
Well, who doesn't? I mean, honestly. What do you mean targeting? Maybe that's the definition. I mean, I've met a few Catholics in my time. They seem to be lovely. The former president himself, Joe Biden, who I voted for twice, is Catholic. So, yeah.
enjoyed targeting parents. But the American people,
Well, not parents. I mean, nobody got targeted because they had kids. I mean, I guess technically these people had to be kids. They had to have kids, beg your pardon. They had to be parents to even be at school board meetings, because what the fuck are you doing here if you don't have any kids in the school, you nutcase? Why are you hanging around a school if you don't have any children?
have said they want no more of that.
They won't no more. They won't no more. They won't.
And our colleagues know you're going to clean it up. I want to talk to you about the Epstein case. I have worked.
Doge! Ladies and gentlemen, just out of nowhere, just walks right over to the third rail and smashes it with a fucking crowbar. Well done, ma'am. Way to bring up. Like, they have been so trying to avoid this. Like, and you could just, like, you could literally feel in the room, like, because there were, like, on the one I was watching, it was like the C-SPAN one or whatever. It was like, it's like she threw the car in reverse and everybody went, puh, and just hit the dashboard.
Worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who.
Geez, because some of them came out and it showed that Donald Trump flew on his plane a lot more. You know what I would love to see is Donald Trump's flight logs. Wouldn't that be something? Because we know Epstein flew with him sometimes.
Helped him build this international human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. Now, early.
You know what you could? You could wait. I could help you there. Maybe, maybe you could interview his neighbors. You know, anybody who, if I may, has never lived more than a 9-minute cab ride from Jeffrey Epstein. That would be Donald Trump. Okay, so,
Earlier, I urged then Chairman Durbin to subpoena those records, and I ended up being blocked by Senator Durbin and
no, you didn't.
Christopher Wray. They stoned.
No, you didn't. No. Republicans blocked you, lady, and they're going to again.
Stonewalled on this. And I know that breaking up these trafficking rings is important to President Trump. So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do it.
Well, it does have a place, actually, in Florida and Georgia. If you're friends with Matt Gaetz, it shouldn't. I think it should have no place in the. I don't know why I'm Jeff Goldbluming. Maybe it's because of the discomfort of the topic. But if you, I've just been thinking about the fact that Trump was his neighbor and lied about not hanging out with him, not calling him, not talking to him. Because once we got the fuck the flight logs, when we got the call logs. Once we got the call logs, we realized that Trump had actually called him almost daily for 3 years after he said they stopped having contact. So
everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going to countermand missing children and exploited children going forward.
Great. I love it. Release all of it. Every last page. I don't give a shit if somebody that I like or I used to respect or whatever the fuck is now. Hold on, I'm still looking for this. Why won't it update? Update Notion, you crazy thing. What's happening? Let's see. Yeah, it just won't update for some reason. I apologize. I'll be up on Instagram as soon as it does. I just have to keep checking back on it for it will let me go in there. So.
Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Don't thank me. Thank Donald Trump, actually.
I do want to touch on the political persecution. I find it so interesting that they feel like you would carry out political persecution.
Jeez, I don't know where we got that idea. All the calls for retribution and you being on fucking Steve Bannon's podcast, insisting that you would be the chairman of the retribution committee. Psst, where'd they get this silly notion?
Parents are with us today. They fled Uganda and persecution from Idi Amin. And I think that with your background and given your family's history, that you would never move to political persecution.
Careful. He's Indian, but if you remind people that he's from Uganda as a child, it might make your colleagues think he's black, which apparently is a line too far at this point.
Is that accurate?
Yes, Senator, that is.
And
real quick, was Timothy McVeigh a patriot until he wasn't? Did Ayn Rand fleeing the oppression of the Soviet Union keep her from taking Social Security and lying that she was married and having her boyfriend on her Social Security listed as her husband, so they both got Social Security? Did that stop her in her beliefs, even though she wrote several books on fuck everybody, charity is a mental defect, religion is a sign of mental incapacitation? Right.
Appreciate that you would remove any kind of two tiers of justice from the FBI because they have practiced that every day.
And they never got good at it, apparently, because...
For years. Not all FBI agents. There are some good ones.
Just some? Just some, lady? Some? Did they include the last two we lost in the line of duty in fucking Florida, serving papers on a child pornographer? I'm kidding. Why are we even talking about Florida again? I don't even know why it's in the front of my mind.
And we certainly want to keep them, but the politics has got to be moved out of the agency. Now, they've tried to frame you as being anti-police. We've discussed that some today. And I know that you grew up working.
Yeah, the whole part about like you siding with the Jan 6ers over the Capitol Police, wanting to dismantle the entire FBI. I mean, it just sounds like you don't want anybody looking anywhere.
With NYPD officers in your community. And I know that law enforcement groups, including the National Association of Police Organizations, have endorsed your nomination. And on top of that, your brother is a law enforcement officer. Is that accurate?
Many of my family are, yes, Senator.
How many?
Right, but A, that doesn't mean they're cops, or they might be in areas where you don't think it's going to bother you. You don't have a problem. Like, understand, these assholes don't have a problem with, like, Texas fucking state troopers, racially profiling people and pulling them over. He's not running to be local law enforcement. He's running to be the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Of your family, sir?
Well, I guess the Indians have a different definition of family. We got a really big one, and they're all family.
We all love big families.
So we got a lot.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Indians have a different idea of what family is? No, you don't. You have biological family, extended family, and then you have close friends you consider family. That's not unique. You weirdo.
I appreciate that. But it is accurate to say that in your role, you're going to do everything that you possibly can to protect the men and women who are protecting our communities.
That is of the utmost importance.
Yeah, but define protecting our communities. Brooming any immigrant that isn't rich? I mean, let's start there. Is that protecting our communities? Is it protecting our communities to stop a woman who's crossing the border of a state that doesn't allow abortions to save her own life because she has an ectopic pregnancy and the hospitals there won't serve her, so her family is driving her across state lines? Is that protecting the community? Because if you think that, that's fucked. Again, these generic phrases don't mean anything.
Thank you. I want to go to the Nunes memo. You were the principal author of the Nunes memo. Is that accurate?
Yes, me and staff.
Thank you. And
all right. Also, he's talking about the Nunes memo in terms of the investigations into Trump. Not all the myriad of stupid memos that Devin Nunes has written in his time working at Truth Sinkhole.
That did really so much to focus the light on the Russiagate hoax and the political cabal that was for years operated out of the DOJ and the FBI.
No, it didn't.
And I know that there are...
It made baseless accusations against members of the FBI and used phrases out of context to make it look like they were planning to take Trump down by faking evidence, which was not the case at all.
Are some that felt like that memo was not accurate. We know now differently.
Yeah, I would be one of those people, and I still stand by it.
Differently. And
no, you don't.
And I'm quoting a comment that was made about that memo and by a member of that House Intel Committee, and I quote, "It was meant only to give Republican House members a distorted view of the FBI."
Yeah, and it worked. And people wonder why people have a shit view of the FBI right now. It's not because of what they've done. It's because Donald Trump and people like Kash Patel and Marsha Blackburn and all of her colleagues, and Kennedy, who's sitting right there behind her, have made it their express goal to undermine the credibility of the FBI to protect Donald Trump.
End quote. I find it so interesting. They use the term distorted view.
Well, I find it interesting, too, because I'm interested in the truth.
I think the American people who for 4 years under Biden saw the FBI weaponized against them, against
Really?
parents, against people.
Just parents. I'm a parent. Did the FBI had like Operation No Kids or something?
Faith, weaponized.
Just people of faith. I have faith that there are erections in my future. You don't know it for a fact, but you think so, you know, and I consider that to be an aspect of my faith.
Against President Trump. I think they would disagree with that. Do you stand by the good work that you did on the Nunes memo?
The good work? Sure. You mean like the punctuation or?
Our team, and yes, absolutely.
And the Nunes memo was accurate in its description of the details, correct?
As confirmed by the Inspector General, the Special Counsel, because the Nunes memo only contained sworn information received pursuant to transcribed interviews and production of government materials, including FBI 302s and DOJ memorandum.
So the
Right, but there and excluding any exculpatory or conflicting material.
The Nunes memo is accurate.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So let's just say, for example, I say under oath, the sky is blue and red and green and is full of dragons and smells like fresh baked bread, and the clouds are made out of cotton spiders. And you take the part where I said the sky is blue, and you're like, his statement was truthful, Your Honor. I ask everyone here, is the sky indeed not blue? Right? So that's how you take a statement of testimony, use part of it, and say the part that we put in our report was true. It's a little silly. Like, are we? We're just supposed to act like this is fucking 1975, and everybody's on equal terms with the truth?
Thank you for that. In your new role as director, how will you work to root out two tiers of justice at the FBI?
Well, I'll first identify it as not existing, and then I'll go, well, that was awesome. Who wants to go get a beer?
The same way I have always done so, ma'am, with the utmost fidelity to the Constitution and integrity to law enforcement. Government must allow those who are privileged to serve to execute their law enforcement duties fully, but at the same time, the American people deserve accountability inwards to government, to any of those who violate that sacred trust.
Awesome, and I appreciate the Sanders aide that initially wrote those words that you borrowed from someplace so that you could hump through this. But I gotta tell you, like, that doesn't tell us anything.
As you prepare to take this new role, what are the top areas of concern for you as we look at our national security?
Immigrants that come here to terrorize and come out from insane asylums, and not at all using the FBI to track women going across borders.
The top areas when it comes to national security, ma'am, have remained unchanged, and the threat dynamic has increased. It's thwarting terrorist activities and terrorist attacks here and overseas against our citizens and our allies. And it also includes CCP espionage, which is running rampant these last 5 years through our country, including our cyber infrastructure and our agricultural properties. And it also includes taking on Iran.
Sorry, 5 years? So Trump signed off on this stuff? Is this he lit this bomb and you've got to cut the wick before it reaches the, all right.
The number one state sponsor of terror and any other adversary that wishes to harm America.
Thank you.
So serial killers, gun running, sex trafficking, interstate, sexual assault, that kind of stuff. You're just not going to bother with that anymore? Child predators? I mean, it would mean releasing the Epstein file, so.
Thank you. I look forward to a yes vote on your confirmation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I think Durbin pushes back on what she said.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh yeah, hold on, because here's the thing. She brought up during that hearing that they cut her off, and Durbin brings up the point, rightly so, that the reason she was cut off from whatever Epstein shit she was doing was because they had gone over the 2 hours of their questioning period or whatever they were doing in committee, and Republicans interrupted her and insisted that since they were over 2 hours, it had to stop. And when you put apparently when you enact the 2 hour rule, it takes the gavel out of the chairman's hand and everybody can leave because it keeps you from missing votes and stuff. So there's to keep senators from being withheld from the voting process by dragging out hearings that are for in committee where they have to vote on something or listen to testimony by guaranteeing a stoppage point. You can keep whoever the ruling party who's in charge of the committee from dragging it out so that the minority misses votes, right? So that's a rule that exists. And the Republicans were fine with going over until Senator Blackburn brought up the Epstein files, and then the Republicans on the committee invoked the 2 hour rule and shut down the committee hearing she was in. She specifically, and she blames Durbin for it, but it's really fucking telling that it was the Republicans who were fine with being 20, 25 minutes over up until she brought that up. And then they're like, hey, it's been 2 hours. Fuck that. Nope. Call it off. We don't have to ask for a regular order. It's been over 2 hours. Gone. That's what they literally cut it off at that point. So fucking on the nose. So telling. Now, there is I want to check in on something that's it just gets dumber all the time. Okay, so remember yesterday when we were looking at Glenn Beck talking about the drone thing or whatever, and we hopped over to it, and it turns out the video that I had was before the Carolyn Leavitt had given her first press conference. Look at this shit. Look at this fucking piece of clip art. Look at this clickbait horse shit. Okay, Steph chatting. Trump signs are blaming Biden for the yeah, I'm not surprised. Again, he can sign whatever the fuck he wants. He's just blaming Obama, DEI for plane crash. Who gives a shit? It's gross. Again, I'm not going to chase the laser pointer of Trump's bullshit because it's meaningless. Because ultimately, what really matters is what came out. So anyway, so remember the drones thing, and then Carolyn Leavitt comes out and says, actually, these were all legal drones. They had clearance from the FAA, and yada, yada. Okay. Now, never mind that. Between now and then, between that period and now, the Biden, I guess, it was a congressional rule, and then they passed it to committee, but the Biden signed an executive order that basically outlawed DJI drones in the country. And then when he did that, DJI shut off the part of the drones that causes automatic geofencing in certain areas that keeps them from it recognizes where it is via GPS, and it won't fly into an airport, for example, or it won't fly over a military base, or it won't fly over restricted airspace of any kind. The Chinese removed that feature when we outlawed them. So every DJI drone that exists in the country right now, the person who's running it is responsible for stopping it from flying out. Right? Okay. So I really do want to, I got to see what the fuck this idiot finally said about this, because ultimately all Carolyn Leavitt did was repeat what the Biden administration did, and now everything's fine.
Let's just first start with how competent this administration is, all of the people that are being put into roles, how competent they are. Let's start with an interview with Stephen Miller, with Jake Tapper. I mean, you can see the disgust in Jake Tapper's face
Yeah, because Stephen Miller is gross. He's the guy behind the child separation stuff. He's the zero tolerance thing. The idea that every person who crosses illegally into the country has automatically committed a crime, whether they have an asylum claim or not. And I've made the case, it's pretty clear, that let's say you, whoever you are not an American citizen, but you are in Canada and you are hiking and a bear gets a whiff of you, as will happen in Canada. And you start running from the bear and you cross the U.S. Border in this one area. You cross into the United States running from the bear. Okay, follow me on this. It's legally, it makes sense. Once you've crossed over that, you are trying to save your own life. You have fled, and you have not asked permission to save your own life because you don't need it. It is an imperative in that moment because you are running from the bear. According to Stephen Miller, you are guilty of a crime. You can be legally prosecuted because you were fleeing a bear and you crossed a line that you may even not known was there. Doesn't matter, right? Legally, that's enough to make you a criminal, according to him. Now, that you can see why that makes sense, from my point of view, that that's why we have asylum claims. Now, we don't have an illegal alien problem in this country. We have an asylum problem. We have the standards for asylum were too loose, and quite frankly, our international enemies, and I would argue members of the right, materially used those weaknesses in the asylum system to flood immigrants to the border, to use it as a wedge issue, and it worked.
He's pretty transparent. Listen to this.
How does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders, absolutely, but also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake, you're just asking the question, that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien workers.
Again, there's a reason why I pause videos when most of the time when I'm almost all the time. There's a rare exception, and it's usually only when I'm being specifically a dick over something we've already seen. But there's obviously Trump doesn't give a shit about any of that, or he would be arresting the people who had hired these people in the first place. And what Jake Tapper's position is and has always been is that people should be able to work openly. But also, if you're going to broom all these people out that you pretend are not doing these things, how are you going to lower prices at the same time? It's not even a moral question. It's a material question.
Workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's because of the volume of human beings. That's not the targeted industries. And the reason they go to those cities is if they're in construction or they work in processing factories. Because I'll have you know that there's a huge slaughterhouse in fucking Brooklyn, for example. There are food processing plants all over southeastern Los Angeles.
And small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden floods. Mm-hmm. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 legal...
Yeah, they are. They work in agricultural processing plants.
Aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are...
No, but I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean, I'm talking about the ones...
Is he changing the subject?
Give me 30 minutes, I'll go deep as you want on this.
We don't have
you and your audience.
I don't have a third. I'm talking about the ones that work in the agriculture industry.
I'm
you
explaining
can come back
to you
and we
your
can talk
audience.
about the ones in the cities, I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from...
It doesn't matter. You're brooming everybody out. Trump has said you're not even making a distinction. You're not saying we're going to keep the ones that are on the farms. If that's what you're saying, then you're saying, don't worry, Jake. we're keeping the exploitation. The fuck are you talking about?
Venezuela.
This is again, this is beyond gross. It's stupid.
From Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They're in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition
Really? Yeah. Over time, you're going to transition into those things. Is what you're going to do?
to automation, so we'll never have to have this.
Wait, what'd I say? What did I fucking say? Let's hear that again, kids.
Supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again.
I
But
think
there's no universe in which this
look at
nation
how
is going to
disgusted his
allow
face is, Jake
the
Tapper.
previous president to.
It's also Glenn projecting onto Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper asked a very specific question, and over time, it isn't this year, motherfucker. It's not even next year.
Flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here.
I think that is a totally reasonable answer, and I really think that we should.
Yes, you know what, Glenn? Hold on. Guys, I feel like I have to remind everyone that, let's see. Let's see if there's a new video on these things instead of this old shit. Is that a real video of it? Let's see. There you go. Okay, hold on to see if this is. It's just a bunch of bullshit. Hold on 1 second. That's 2020. That's the 2021 one. There you go. You want to see an undocumented worker that doesn't get a pension, doesn't get health care, doesn't care if it's working a 40-hour work week, doesn't if it's injured or destroyed, it has no recourse, and it can't pledge allegiance to a flag of anywhere. And so specifically, I would like to remind everyone that this is one of the reasons why Elon Musk wants to be around Donald Trump, because and I've told you guys this before, but okay, Operation Wetback, which is what Trump is building his kind of idea on, that he wants to better, he wants to triple what happened in Operation Wetback. The name of that, let's see, here you go, bring this up real quick. Was let's see, yeah, was in June of 1954. So let's see, farm equipment growth 50s. 1950. Let's see if I get a picture of the stuff there. What are these terrible little pictures? I want bigger ones. Boink. Why is it so small? Okay. Here, let me show you this real quick. But okay. See this thing right here? This is from Farm Progress. This is a corn picker. And it doesn't really pick the corn. What it does is it separates, it's built so that anything that's corn shaped gets yanked off of the stalk, and the stalk gets ground up and spit out, right? It was a fairly simple process and way easier to do with corn because corn is physically hard compared to fruit or vegetables, right? Most of them, okay? Yeah, it's a comment. But this little attachment here is, boink, see that little guy right there? So one of the reasons why see how small that picture is? What the fuck? How does that help me? That in 1954 is when Operation Wetback happened. Okay, the reason we're having this big move right now towards getting rid of like farm workers and the like, and why he just said what he said. He just said the quiet part loud. that eventually you, with automation, you will solve all this and we'll never have to have this conversation again. That's what they're talking about at the White House right now, and that's what's going to replace immigration. That's what they think. Now, to a certain degree, that's true. Just like, tillers and combines and bush hogs and threshers and all that stuff replaced 8 or 10 male workers during the 50s, late 40s and early 50s. Remember this? They, as a farmer who used to have like a hand plow, would hire a bunch of guys who'd come over from Mexico to push 4 hand plows. Now he could drag a plow behind his tractor that dug 4 rows at a time, and he didn't need anybody. He could do it himself. But he still needed the women to pick the fruit. That's what ultimately happened. And that's why all the imagery from that period of time, to where like Slowpoke Gonzalez, Speedy Gonzalez's brother, they'd always talk about, or the pictures of like Mexicans with their sombreros tipped forward, right, sitting against walls. The reason that image was so pervasive during that time was because those guys who had come here for work were slowly being put out of work by these machines, and then at a certain point it achieved an ROI, a return on investment aspect, where they just weren't worth it. Right? And so they sent back a bunch of them. And then they started limiting who came across. And the people who did come after that ended up being pickers, not farmers. Or they ended up working in agricultural plants. Or and the men who would have done the plowing ended up in construction. Okay? So one thing that's important is that this is the first time I'm hearing that, like somebody from the administration specifically talking about automation replacing this, and we're never going to hear from. Let's listen to it one more time. This is policy.
But there's no universe.
Hold on.
Doing farm work there in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again.
Right. That's the plan. The idea is not to have, raise wages so that Americans will do these jobs, right? The purpose of this is to replace immigration, which was cheap labor, with a new updated form of cheap labor. That's it. And it's going to take, I'm saying 2 years, where you'll really start seeing this. Because we've already got some of them. We've already got, in certain areas, I'll show you some of these things. Like, so, let's see if I can find, Demantic. And you'll see why there's a focus on this. Where are we? That's a pick module, robotic fulfillment order. Oops, hold on. Specific, there you go. See this guy? Hold on. This thing right here, this device, okay, that's a fruit picker. And these things, like right now, the ones that they have, which they do use a lot of, work in greenhouses, or they work in these places where they grow them, anything they can grow on rails, strawberries, tomatoes, shit like that. So they grow them up on these rails, and then the robot can ride along next to it, and they're kind of already set up to be picked this way. And the only thing stopping this from happening everywhere all at once is the fact that some foodstuffs can't be grown off the ground yet. Right? I'm just letting you know. This is happening. And they know it. They just know the issue they have is that it's not happening fast enough for Elon Musk to make money off of it right away. So they're trying to speed it along. Basically, this purge is doing Elon Musk a favor. They'll shove everybody. Remember how Elon Musk was saying there's going to be some economic difficulty, and then people are just going to have to put up with it, and then it's all going to be better. Okay, this is what he's talking about. He's talking about food's going to get really fucking expensive, and then everybody's going to like wig out, and then they're going to buy my robots to pick the fruit and do all this kind of stuff, and then it'll get super, super cheap. That's the argument they're making. And this is the first time I'm seeing somebody from the actual administration saying it. That means they're all talking about it.
But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here.
I think that is a totally reasonable answer, and I really think that we should start asking people about farm labor and cheap labor, and they're using that as a defense. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were in the 1850s again.
Hey, fuck you, dude. No, you don't get to benefit from slavery and then claim other people who are talking about its impacts are on your side. We're against it. That's why a guest worker program is the thing. But it's all these ag businesses that have these people work under the table.
Okay, so you have no problem with exploiting people as long...
Yeah, we do. We do have a problem with it. That's why the people who hire them should go to jail. And the people who are here working should get a green card or a temporary work visa if they want to keep working.
As long as they're out picking your food. Okay, I got it.
No, and also that wasn't what Jake Tapper's point is. This is my point that I was making. But Jake Tapper's point was, hey, how are you going to scoop all these people out and kick them out of the country and lower grocery prices at the same time? How are you going to do it? Without confronting the fact that one of the reasons that we can afford as many groceries as we do in this country is because of exploited workers. You're either going to solve for the problem and pay them what they deserve, or prices are going to go up. And whose fucking fault is that? Nobody's, because that's just reality.
I just want to understand where you're coming from.
Where he's coming from is you got two conflicting goals. How do you square them?
Because that is what they're arguing.
It's amazing.
No, it isn't.
Too, like, the media really hates Donald Trump. I'm not breaking news with that. But
yeah, because he brags about sexually assaulting women, and he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 2.5 decades, and he's a fraud and a bullshitter. What am I kidding? What's not to like?
But they may hate Stephen Miller more. They can't stand him.
Yeah.
And, I will say, you might not agree with Stephen Miller's opinion on these things. He knows this stuff really well. I mean, you're not going to, he knows immigration issues. These are the issues that got...
Jesus Christ. No, he doesn't. No. He's a single issue voter in terms of his value in the administration. He's a racist. He doesn't know immigration. He's a racist. Again, if he's trying to replace these human beings with robots entirely. It's not like he's saying black Americans or Hispanic Americans can take these jobs if they're low-income people who need a better job. We can guarantee that agricultural work is this. We can make sure that there are more black and Latino farms in the country. He's not saying that at all. He's hi. Oh, excuse me 1 second. Oh. No, I'm not ready for that scare.
I mean, obviously it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're fine. Summer's going out wearing a shirt that says vasectomies prevent abortions, and I was like, I don't need a snip. I'm good. But anyways, so where was I? Oh yeah, he's a racist, and they like it.
Got him to the position he's in, and you're not going to get on there and stump him on that stuff.
And I think,
yeah, because he's again, that's like it. Hammer. All the Hammer cares about is a nail. You're not going to tempt him with a screw. That came out weird.
everyone needs to learn from what this administration is saying. What they've been saying for the last couple of days is, are you okay I just want to be on the record with you. Are you okay saying that we should exploit people for cheaper prices?
No, they're not at all. They're making the point that you're going to do this, prices are going to go up. I have been saying this about Chinese cotton for fucking years now. And after spending almost 2 years there, the better part of 2 years there before COVID, and coming away knowing that, like, specifically that slave cotton from Xinjiang making H&M shirts $1 cheaper is not worth it. Most of the prices that you're seeing going up in textiles, especially at the places that usually sell them cheaper, is because you are now paying an anti-slavery tax. You are paying extra for cotton sourced from someplace that isn't picked by in Xinjiang or by Uyghur Muslims who are forced into labor, who are sterilized, who are put into re-education camps and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's why the price went up. And the point is, I'm okay with that. You motherfuckers were the ones using it as a cudgel against Biden and blaming fucking oil and gas prices for it. Right? I would rather have something that lasts longer. You guys have seen me wear the same t-shirt many, many times. Now, to be completely fair, I have 6 of the I Love Toxic Waste shirts. And the reason I have that is because I wear them on stage, and so I'll have a fresh one for each show if I do 5 shows in a weekend, so I don't have to do laundry when I'm on the road, so that I can wear the same thing on stage consistently. This is something I like. Anyways, but you guys have seen me wear like a band t-shirt or something that I have over and over again, because that's how it should be. There's no shame in it. It's cool. You can wear the same stuff as long as it's clean as many times as you want, and it should last. And the idea that you're gonna, that I'd be like, man, these shirts are $2. You're like, that's just suspect. Something that cheap, there's another cost to it. You understand? And in this particular case, what Jake Tapper is saying is that you guys say you're going to bring down the price of groceries, and you're also going to run off most of the farm workers. How are you going to do that? What does that look like, asshole? Are you going to force people to work on the cheap? Are you going to, we see the stick. Where's the fucking carrot? Carrots will be $5 a bushel. Because it puts the Democrats where they have always been. Fuck you. He's going back to Democrats were for slavery. Yeah, that's before the Dixiecrats switched over and became Republicans and the abolitionist Democrats maintained. Get the fuck out of here. Since the 1800s. Fuck off. Again, they all want to erase the 60s. The 60s are when the Democrats, specifically the Southern Democrats, known as the Dixiecrats, because everybody in the country was a Democrat of one sort or another. There were conservative Democrats, liberal Democrats, there were Whigs and all this stuff, but the idea was everybody was for democracy. There was only after a while that we found out that there were some conservatives who were Federalist conservatives who didn't like that everybody had a vote and wanted the Electoral College to be the main driver of the elections. That's where the Democratic Party became a thing. Yes, it's going to affect our life if we get rid of these slaves. Yes, it's going to affect my lawn care prices. It's going to affect my food prices. Okay. Long as you're good with that, then again, why is it okay to keep going up now? Right? If food prices are already too fucking high, and you're like, we're going to solve for this. We're going to throw these folks out. And again, we're not for throwing them out or their exploitation. We're for giving them a legitimate pass to work. They don't have to become citizens. They don't have to have voting rights. And they're not slaves. They get paid. They just get paid under the table. Yeah, he calls them slaves. And again, which just means that he's fine with exploiting them until the conversation comes up. It's just fucking dumb.
Orange prices. Okay, that's fine.
Is it fine? Okay, it is fine. As long as it's fine, and you guys aren't going to bitch about when prices go up, and when we call you out on it, that prices didn't go down when he promised that they were, you're going to go, yeah, fuck me. As long as you agree to go, yeah, fuck me, I'm down.
Just want to make sure that I understand clearly that that is where you stand.
No, where we stand is that these workers should have a either seasonal passes or a green card so that they can work temporarily. And if they live on the other side of the border, if they're going to do those jobs and they're going to send the money back home to take care of their family and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. That there should be a system in place so that they can do it. That they're not working under the table. The question is you don't want to do that part. You don't want to support them in any way. You don't want to give them any rights. You want them to, work under the shadow of ICE all the time, right? You want them to live in fear constantly while doing this job. We don't. Right? Specifically, we want them to be able to work out in the open and get a decent wage. Even if it's not what the federal minimum would be, it would still be better than what they could make at home, and therefore there'd be a back and forth, right?
Because then we can take a conversation honestly now, and we can talk about two things. Is that right for you to think that, or does that kind of put you back into the old-timey days with...
Again, this is just like condescending horse shit. He's trying to lay this off on them. And again, please, move the next step forward and go, we need these folks. They do an important job. Many of them are just trying very hard so they can support their families and they make a little money and send some home. And maybe it's time we give a special guest worker pass to these folks, right?
Slavery.
Not going to do it.
Because even if it's one of those things that even if it made the prices go up slightly.
You won't say a thing. Thank you, Stu. Even if it goes up slightly, it's worth it. Look at that. Stu sounds like me about Chinese cotton. See, progress can be made.
It would be the type of thing that I think Americans would be okay with. They didn't like the slavery thing. I think we're off of that bandwagon. So,
and it's different than, because I have an Apple product. Okay, I have Apple products in my house. I know those are made by slaves.
No, you don't. They're not. No, the Chinese government was using Uyghurs in those factories, and when it became known, they had to move the Foxconn factory. That's why Foxconn was moving one of their major factories to fucking Vietnam.
I hate that.
And also, they're not made. They're assembled. Things aren't made in China. They're assembled in China.
But it's the best product, and how I justify it in my head, and this is exactly the thing they did in the 1800s as well.
Oh, good. So, sorry, if you're not following along, Democrats are justifying our belief that immigrants should be recognized and respected for the role they play in our society, and that there should be legal protections for them to either as temporary workers or get a green card or something like that. And that's what Democrats think right now, which he says makes us pro-plantation circa 1850. And then he moves from, well, actually, that's how I think. Like, that's Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck thinks that same way, too. So it seems like he's projecting what he's aware of as his moral failing onto us.
I justified in my head as, well, I'll never be able to change China. I'm not going to change China. And we're working to change China in any way we can.
Are we? Oh, right. The Chips and Science Act. Right. Which I'm sure you're for. Right? Right, Glenn? I'm sure I could look back and you've done all kinds of shows about finally the Chips and Science Act. Finally, we're moving that production here. Finally, we're reshoring those factories under Joe Biden.
But
also, yeah.
So
context also matters there. I mean, a lot of the jobs that again, slavery, it was a specific thing.
Yes.
We compare a lot of things to slavery. To be clear, even illegal immigrants working here are not slaves.
No, no,
typically.
they're not.
Some of them are.
They're not.
Some of them are.
But
probably,
it is still exploitation of people for cheaper prices.
And I will say, especially when you're talking about China.
Great, yeah. Listen who's turning into fucking Noam Chomsky all of a sudden. Like, you give a fuck, Glenn. There's not a single thing in that studio that wasn't assembled in fucking China. His video wall comes from there directly. He didn't even buy it through an American supplier.
And products in other countries, you have to put content.
This motherfucker, I guarantee that Glenn Beck buys a bunch of shit on Alibaba. And the way that I can prove it is the whole conversation we had about the robot dog, that he wanted a Unitree Go-To, the dog with a flamethrower on it. Remember that conversation? And he was going to get him to patrol his property and yada, yada. Totally did.
Text into it. You know,
he didn't buy those through fucking Amazon.
The pay that they get there, if it were here, would be terrible. If it's there, lots of times, it's the best job in the area. That's not always true, but it is something that you have to consider.
Okay, so now let's go.
Yeah, Glenn, you have to consider this.
To the new press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. She was, I thought, really, really good yesterday.
At yelling and huffing and puffing. I don't know if you guys saw that, but she was literally like hyperventilating. She was saying everything she had to say so forcefully that she got out of breath.
She did seem just a little nervous, but I mean, wouldn't you're walking into a Shark Tank for your first?
No, you're not. First of all, you don't walk into a shark tank. You arguably swim in. And if you walked into one, all the sharks would be dying. And they wouldn't have any oxygen, so there wouldn't be any water. So they'd be just flopping around, I think. This is so stupid.
Your first day.
Absolutely.
Right? You know.
But I thought she did really well. At first, she started the press conference with some breaking news about the drones.
It wasn't breaking. There was nothing breaking about it. All she did was reiterate what the Biden administration had said about this, and which turned out to be exactly what everybody knew it was, and it turned out to be a big old fucking nothing burger.
Got 3.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly.
Yes, and this is a direct quote. Yeah.
An update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over
were like, fuck you.
over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons.
Yeah, like these nuts. I'm a Jersey drone. Fuck off.
Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones.
What's a recreational individual? Sounds an awful lot like a prostitute, I gotta say. It's like, are you a prostitute? No, I'm a professionally, I'm a recreational individual.
In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States.
That reiterates exactly what the Biden administration said weeks ago.
To start this briefing with some news.
How do you feel about that?
Because both of you are assholes?
Answer.
I mean, you know me. I don't.
That's where you were.
That's kind of where I was. Kind of where I figured it would land. Now, those are words directly from President Trump's mouth. I don't know why he'd lie about it. And
I don't think he would.
Yeah, why would he lie? He doesn't lie. He didn't lie. I mean, there's obviously a lot of stuff in the Epstein files that's fake and stuff, and you wouldn't want to release those. You kind of want to release them, but you don't want to release because, yeah.
But I don't think he would. So, I'm
The
not
only thing-
shocked by that where that lands.
Yeah, you are. Shut the fuck up. Both of you are like, aha, this is like the same as the JFK shit. It came out and everybody was like,
I'm not satisfied, and I know President Trump is not satisfied with these things either. That's a good opening statement. What I'd like to see is the transparency of, here are the documents from the FAA approving these things.
What? First of all, why? Secondly, if you think he's lying, fucking say so, you chicken shit. So you do think he's lying. I appreciated him saying this, and I can't imagine he would ever lie, and he can't lie. He's like fucking, he's more than George Washington. He's the fucking cherry tree, so he can't lie. He can't tell a lie. He's just fucking amazing, right? But I'd really like to check his work, because I smell bullshit. Like, whatever.
I don't need to know what they were testing, but...
Well, hey, stupid, if they were testing something for research purposes, it would be self-evident from who was flying it and where.
Here's what they said. The Biden administration decided to close that down because, or not tell you about this, not spread these to the American people. I don't know why. Maybe it's they caused chaos, but they were also very incompetent on a lot of things. So I don't know why it wasn't verified. But I'd like to see the documentation.
So that you can, maintain that it was something else because you got so far out over your fucking skis on this when you know fuck all about any of it? That's why. The reason he wants is, because he knows he never will. Trump's not going to release the fucking FAA documentation on these things. Why the fuck would he? And also, anything that can be posted is posted. Jesus Christ. And what are they going to post? Hobbyist drone locations?
It would help because we don't trust anything anymore.
Anything? Really? How'd you drive to Sonic and back, Glenn? How'd you get there? Did you drive a car that all the safety factors of it were the Transportation Safety Board, checked it all out, made sure it was up to spec? The little yellow line in the middle of the road that couldn't stop anything, couldn't stop a bullet and anything, but you just trust your fellow citizens aren't going to drive across the center of it and smack right into the front of your fucking car. You don't trust anybody anymore? You don't? You lying piece of shit. You trust things all the time. Look at you. You drink stuff from a soda fountain on tap. Do you know how much trust is in that? You take it for granted, but holy shit. Who poured that in there? Did they have an open sore? Is there, who made the ice? Where'd the water come from to make the ice? Do you get where I'm going? What, did anything happen from the fucking factory, where the Coke products factory with the syrup on its way there? Did anybody decide they were sick of being treated like shit by the boss and yak off inside the, in one of the bins that makes all the syrups? Of course you trust people, you dumbass. What you can't even get overweight without trust. You can't do it. Right? To consume enough food to where you and sit in enough chairs where you gain weight, to eat more than the calories you express, is an act of trust, because you are consuming a volume of food that has to come from a myriad of sources. So of course you do, asshole. You just are paranoid specifically about areas where it just makes the fizz. That is not true, Regina. But then was that this year's winner at the AVNs? I forgot to watch.
I do trust Donald Trump to tell us.
Well, no, you don't. You just wanted to see this fucking paperwork, dummy.
That's the truth, because I do believe he answers to us. I do.
Yes, and what did he say? The same thing the Biden administration did. So the problem is that the question has nothing to do with him or Biden. It all comes down to you, dumbass. Glenn, you fucking tool. Two guys say the same thing, but you don't trust one of them in the same detail. So much so that you don't trust the thing that you believe from the second guy because the first guy said it. That's not their problem. That's your problem. That is, you've got a paranoia cramp in your tiny little fucking pea brain, dummy. Has nothing to do with Trump or Biden. You're just an asshole.
I do believe that. He doesn't have an ulterior motive.
All right, now he's just fucking with me. Now he's just giving up all pretense at this point.
I think the shooting, honestly, proved that out.
What? What do you? The shooting proved that out? Why? Do you know a bunch about the shooter that we don't know? Can you explain to me why everybody just dropped it all of a sudden? I mean, where's the fucking JFK, RFK, MLK fucking file shit about the shooter in Butler? Dude won't even say his fucking name. He'll shit talk anybody. He'll talk about Laken Riley's killer and all this stuff till he's blue in the fucking face, but he won't bring up that guy's name at all. Why? Because he doesn't want to draw attention to the fact that the guy voted for him?
For people, I mean, you were, I wouldn't say
or that his ear seems perfectly fine.
Biggest, theorist on this, but you were
a conspiracy theorist,
concerned and asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
There are people who are much more deeply into this than you were. What's the reaction from that side? Do they buy that? I mean, a lot of them like Trump, so they might.
I think here's where I would go in my mind is.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of room to walk around.
Trump is saying that because of national security. Okay. You can't say anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think you gotta. You.
Sorry. So no. It's not kind of yeah. No. So you're essentially giving him some sort of like fuck it rule pass on this. Because if he said he didn't want to say something because of national security, you just buy it outright. But he didn't. They literally just came out and said, no, it was all bullshit. We knew it was bullshit. It's what the FAA said. It's what the New Jersey governor ultimately said. It's what all the people around Manhattan, the Homeland Security people around Manhattan, they're like, yeah, we fucking tracked all these things. They're all fucking drones. Dude, the enemy will not be FAA compliant, stupid.
Go down a road, and that's why I say I would like to just see the documentation. Just show me the documentation so we can just.
What documentation? What do you want? The address of everybody who has a hobby drone that flew in the area? So your nutcase maggot assholes can show up on their door and treat them like they treated election workers in Georgia? Are you fucking nuts? Do you want to be sued out of existence, dipshit?
Write these things off. We're talking to Comer in next hour, and it's the same.
Yeah, a dude with answers. The guy who's gotten to the bottom of everything, mainly a bottle.
Kind of thing. I don't care if people are arrested anymore. I just want to know the truth, and I want to.
Huh? It sounds like you want people arrested, even though you found out the truth, because you felt like because you don't believe it.
See it in documents. I want the proof of what was going on. I want to know who was running the White House and our country in the last 6 months.
Yeah,
I think that is really important.
Huge one.
Yeah.
It's like we have these big things and we just kind of stop.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're going to dovetail this into Biden was an old fart and losing his mind and he couldn't do anything and he was incapable of understanding what was around. He didn't know where he was, couldn't complete a sentence and all that kind of shit. And then he says the statement from his White House is the exact same as Trump's. Wouldn't that just mean that Trump is a dough-headed old fuck too?
Yeah. Like there's some new
Epstein files? The Epstein files? You were going to bring up the Epstein files, weren't you? No, you weren't? Oh. I'm sorry. Could have swore you were going to say the Epstein files. All of them. They should be all released. All of them. And Trump's flight logs as well.
On this that broke the other day, but the lab leak COVID situation.
Yeah.
Like, just China just gets away with this? Is that how this works?
No, okay. Under Trump, they get away with it. Biden was handing them their ass. And whether it was, and this lab leak shit, they just came out with on low confidence, we believe it was a lab leak. Again, these assholes seem to not make a distinction or hope that no one else will. That lab leak means they made it in a lab to be a bioweapon and either let it out or snuck it out. Right? That's not what that means.
Just, 25 million people died in the world, and we're just going to be like, oh, man,
in China.
Remember that whole story about the pangolins? Like, we're just going to kind of shrug our shoulders and...
It doesn't matter. Trump's removed us from the WHO. We have no contact and nothing to do with the Chinese healthcare system or their bioweapon system or any of that stuff. We're completely dislodged from that. We have no say in it. We got nobody on the ground. We got nobody interacting with them. We don't have anybody at the WHO working on our behalf there. We don't have any of our people in the WHO organization working in China to make sure that other pathogens don't spread at all. It doesn't fucking matter. Because again, if you find out your house has been broken into and it's because of a particular window that was left open, you lock the fucking window, right? That's why you want to know how they got in, how the person get in. They came in through the bathroom window, and you can shut it and lock it. Now you know you're good, right? That's the point. But if you find out they have the issue is they have a glass cutter and you're deaf. Which window they came in through doesn't fucking matter. Stupid.
Let that go on. We all lost a year of our lives, and we're just going to be like,
excuse me. I didn't lose a year of my life. That was a year of my life. Do you understand? That was a year of my life. That's what that year was about. Shit happens, life occurs, and your life goes on in spite of it. Think the people in North Carolina who had their house wiped out, and are going to rebuild over the course of 18 months to 2 years, you think they're looking at it as like, that's 2 years of my life that's gone. No, you're fucking alive. It's something that happened to you, and it happened to the whole fucking world. And sorry, Stu, Glenn, are we to assume that had you been able to go out more, you would have made more of that year than you did? Because I don't buy it. Motherfucker, you don't leave the studio. I work from home and I know this. I started doing this show during the pandemic because I was always here. And this built out of it. But these motherfuckers have been doing this type of shit in this type of environment for years, well before the fucking pandemic. They weren't going outside on the regular. They weren't having big social gatherings. Well, they miss out on like 4 Patriot events that they do selling fucking timeshares in Key West.
What's the big deal? I mean, I don't know exactly how you punish him, and I think part of this Trump obviously is very focused on not only.
Yeah, he's going to punish them by keeping TikTok and I guess improving relations or something.
Punishment, but also getting answers on this stuff. But we can't just let that go, right?
Well,
Same thing with this.
I don't think he is. I mean, with the stop.
No, you don't think he is? And you know what? You're right. You just got to trust him. Put your trust. Hold on. I obviously need, let's see. Where is it? Put your trust in Donald Trump. Put your trust in the Lord. Put your trust in Donald Trump to take you home to Calvary. Oh, put it Jesus and drive it down to Mar-a-Lago. Find my way to Jesus every day. I come home and oh, the Lord, we're praying for some Mar-a-Lago time with those ladies with the big old fake titties, and we're going to more. Get the fuck out of here. Praise Jesus and pass the mashed potatoes.
All funding on everything to make sure for 90 days. We want to make sure this is all in line with the agenda of the United States. But also, I think it was over the weekend, he stopped any communication from NIH, CDC, any of these organizations. You are not to change your website. You are not to make any statements on, hey, we just did a research study. This is nothing. You do nothing until we...
Yeah, because, obviously it takes months before a disease can spread to somebody else.
We get a handle on what's really going on.
Yeah.
And then what if you find out, I'm just going to float this. Work with me on this. It's a thought. Let me just roll this into your cranium a little bit. What if you're not capable of understanding what's going on? What if at the end of whatever this period is, you find out, dear God, I, Glenn Beck, /I, Stu, or I, Donald Trump, am too fucking stupid to even fathom this shit. And no amount of eating dinner with Elon Musk or using ChatGPT is going to make up for how fucking dumb I am in the process. And what I've done, what I've succeeded in doing, is slowing down all the people who do know what the fuck they're talking about from protecting the citizens of the United States because my fucking ego was on the line. What if that's the conclusion? And what if people die because of it? How about that? How about that? I'm just gonna drop that turd in your punch bowl there, Glenn.
And I think that's really good.
Yeah, I'm not saying that wasn't a Trump criticism. I
know.
It's a society criticism. Like, we do tend to just move on from this stuff.
Oh, we do? Do we? I would like to say for the record that every time I bring up gun control, I'm talking about 9 mass shootings ago. So, that I haven't moved on from. I'm not just, parlaying something that just happened into a political point. It is too soon if it's just happened. So I go back 9 shootings ago. I think that's just generally a good idea. That's a good window.
And, China especially here. If the foundation of all of that chaos was them letting this out of this lab, which I believe it was.
Okay, again, a lab leak and making a bioweapon in a lab and releasing it are 2 different things. And again, remember what Glenn was talking about the fucking farmers and how guess you guys are cool with exploiting labor if it means blah, blah, blah. And then he goes off on I kind of understand it because I have all these Apple products that I know are made in China, but okay. Stu is floating the idea that the Chinese attacked us with a bioweapon during the last Trump administration, and his response was to give Xi Jinping a hand job.
There has to be ramifications for that.
Yeah,
Same thing with the last 6 months, and 6 months isn't long enough, but the last year and a half of the Biden administration, where we have multiple well-reported news stories saying that at least 6 people inside Joe Biden's inner circle actively hid what he was doing behind the scenes so that he could win that election. That's not okay.
Yeah, and he stepped down. It didn't matter. Who gives a fuck? He made the decision not to go forward. And he could have won, by the way. It would have meant that he probably would have stepped down this year and Kamala would be president. That could have happened. Trump's lucky he didn't.
Something has to be done about what happened there. We need to know. I want to know
No, you don't. Why? Why? What was it in the last year that you're like, oh my God, this is terrible what happened? He, had he been sane or aware, he would have never allowed this to happen. You motherfuckers think he does everything that's bad on purpose. So why would you want him more cogent? And if he wasn't cogent, then he's not to blame for the stuff that you hated, which you can't articulate any fucking way. Because just like the drone story, you're for all of it. You're just a liar.
I want every single text from those 6 people when they were planning that out.
I want to know. I want to know not only.
I want to know what my penis looks like. I haven't seen it without using a hand mirror glued to my shoes in well over 17 years. And even then, it was an accident. I had fallen down in the bathroom in a hotel, and it was like all mirrors.
Who ran the government, but also who actually forced him out? Mm-hmm. Who was the one that actually, was it Nancy?
What are you talking about? Stu was just making the case that he wasn't capable of even fucking understanding what was going on around him. Why do you want to know if he was forced out by somebody? Because, what are you going to make the point that Stu's the asshole here because he wanted the sensible thing done? Fuck off.
Pelosi. Was it Kamala? Was it Barack Obama? How did that actually come down?
It's going to be an incredible.
Who cares?
Incredible. I mean, someone's going to write a book about it eventually.
I'm telling you, the corruption that has happened in the last 4 years. The American people may not understand it, but they.
Right, because they're too busy enjoying the fruits of the bills that he actually passed and the things he actually did. I don't understand, Stu, how their days aren't eaten up with all the shit you made up in your fucking head. They're so busy enjoying the Infrastructure Act and all that stuff that they missed out on all the things that I think happened.
They've got a pretty good gut. They knew something is really wrong, and I think the Tulsi Gabbard.
Sorry, real quick. So again, and I think this sums the whole thing up. Let me get this straight. Joe Biden was mentally deficient and belonged nowhere near the White House. But you want to know who had the guts to drive him out because that person is bad. Meanwhile, you think that Biden's statement on and his administration statement on the drones, which is exactly the same as the Trump administration, means that Biden's still a liar, even though Trump's telling the truth, and not that Trump's a dough-headed old fart, too, because he's repeating the same thing that the guy you think is a dough-headed old fart said. If you're Glenn Beck, how do you pass a desk without slamming your head onto it? Right? How do you manage that? I couldn't. I mean, maybe the rattle of your tiny little fucking peanut brain bouncing around in your skull, you find it irritating enough that stops the drive. Holy shit. So, and I'm over time, but no, I'm not. I'm okay. I keep forgetting it's Thursday. I've got a little more time left. Now, can we sidestep a little? Because one of the things you might have noticed, and I certainly have, is that Fox and Newsmax and all these shows have gotten really fucking boring because these guys don't know how to do anything except be paranoid and butthurt. And even Trump blames everyone like he's still on the campaign trail, like he's not president now. He's not taking any responsibility. That's not going to change anytime soon. He's going to be a whingy fuck. Anything that goes right, he's going to take 100% credit for. Anything that goes wrong is somebody else's fault. It's the weakest, shittiest, lowest res version of leadership, in air quotes, that you could possibly do. So they're boring as shit, and it's pretty hilarious. Well, there's a trickle down to that, as you might imagine, where Fox has gotten boring. Roseanne's just gotten nuts, increasingly nuts. Like, she's always been nuts, but she managed to work her way onto Trump's stage a couple of times by being, kind of just MAGA nuts instead of QAnon. Vampires are real, and they're among us. So saith Roseanne. This I gotta hear. By the way, hit that like, share the show. It's Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. Also, the Venmo is over there if you want to buy me a cup of coffee. And you're like, I don't think you need one, Hal. By the way, I've noticed some comments in the last week about my energy level or my level of caffeination or something, which has not changed, I would like to say, for the record. What has changed is that I went, many people know I injured my shoulder, and I'm just now starting to rehab it back, and it's still smaller than my right arm, but it's getting there, and it's, and again, I have full flexibility, which is a nice thing, but it was rough for a long time. Yeah, no, I don't drink that much coffee. I honestly don't. But there's some sports medicine literature about hyperbaric chambers and oxygen therapy helping with injuries, helping to heal injuries. And I'd been reading up on it because it's pretty, and I'm just trying to help my body through, and I don't want to like go back to lifting really hard and re-injure myself. So I was looking at, okay. And then I found out there was a place nearby to go and do this. And so I've done it twice. I have a third session. I got it on Groupon. So I got it on Groupon. And I've done two of the things. The third one is on Saturday. And it's like these 60-minute, and by the way, I saw a physical therapist about this too. It's just they told me what I already knew, which is you just got to slowly work it back up. It's not the thing. But Michael Jackson slept in one was the thing. Anyways, and I think he tried it for a while because it helps you with your sleep, apparently. Always use a fresh hose. I agree. And they throw them out at this place. I have noticed that. Anyway, so who knows? I mean, after I leave, they might reach into the trash can and put it in the dishwasher. That'd be scary. But anyways, it's so anyways, I've done it twice. And what they say about the sleep part of it, I don't have problems sleeping anyways. I sleep like a baby. I'm up all night crying and I often crap myself. I'm kidding. I sleep very well. I go to bed probably 9 o'clock at night, and Chip wakes me up at 5 a.m. Oh, sorry. The Venmo comes off there if I boink. How about that? And then move this guy out of the way. Thanks for bringing that up. So anyways, I've done it twice in the last week. I did it was it Thursday for the first time? And then I did it Tuesday, I did it Saturday and then Tuesday. That's what it was. And they didn't have time again until Sunday or whatever. Anyway, so I went and did it. And I was like, I didn't expect that I would feel anything in particular because it's not really topical. You know what I mean? It's not like, I don't know, like, it's like IV treatments or something like that. When you go there, it's fine. Anyways, I haven't really noticed a huge difference in my shoulder yet. Not that I would after two things. Apparently, it takes a little while, and that makes sense. But like after 3 treatments or so, it should help me out a little bit, right? And anyways, point being, the only thing I have noticed is people going, "Jesus Christ, you have so much energy." And you seem to be like, and I've been very industrious the last couple days. I have been like it. I don't know why, but it made me start like organizing. Wow, 9 p.m. bedtime. How do you do your shows? Well, I do. Obviously, my sleep schedule changes when I'm on. When I have a comedy show at night or the Jam or something like that. So I shift my sleep schedule the night before. So I stay up later, sleep in more, and then I shift my waking hours easily over the next couple hours. That makes sense. So anyways, you need energy for that show. This is true, Lavender. But anyway, so that I've noticed people, I've been talking fast lately, and that's the only thing that's changed. Because I've actually been drinking less coffee. I mean, I make summer coffee in the morning, but I don't drink it myself. Does that make sense? I drink a hydration drink in the morning. I don't drink coffee right out of the gate. There's this drink, because when you're on the carnivore diet, you can, in the very beginning of it especially, it throws your electrolytes off. Because you're used to getting them one way until you start processing them another way. And so a lot of keto people get the keto flu. And the reason they do that is because their electrolytes get off, right? And anyways, so in the process of that, like there's this drink Hoist that is pretty decent. And there's like Element, which is a lot of people push that or whatever. But whatever, it's just salt, yeah. But anyway, so yeah. So I had those in the beginning of when I was shifting to the carnivore diet to get my kind of, and I never got the keto flu because of it, right? So I think the reason I never got the keto flu in that process, or the meat sweats or whatever it was, the reason I didn't get that is because I took electrolytes. I made sure my electrolytes were balanced, and I did it. pay attention to my body and I transition through those things, right? So, anyways, that's it. Do you do the butter coffee? I have done. Did you drink the butter coffee thing for a bit back then? Yeah, I do on occasion. And when I do have it in the morning, that's what it'll be. Yeah. I'll usually have bulletproof coffee in the morning if I have coffee at all. Yeah. Anyway, so most of the time though, I do just one of those like Hoist hydration drinks or the Element ones. Because it's, you know, I enjoy it, but Brondo. It's what plants crave. I don't do Body Armor or Prime or Gatorade because there's too much sugar and too much, like, they're too chemically. I don't drink anything that has a color in it. If that makes sense. That's my primary one. Right? Oh, thanks. What would I give? See this other house roast of Glenn Beck to be shown to Glenn. Hugs to Caleb. I will give him a hug, Ben. Thank you. Love the facial hair. Thanks. All right. That's a good sign. I've never really grown it out because people freak out when I change what I look like. But since I grew my hair long, everybody's in a state of freak out anyway. So I figure, what the fuck what does it matter now? Right? Yeah. So point being is that that's the only thing that's changed in my material life in the last week. And I've noticed people going, like telling me to like ease off caffeine in the last little bit. And the only thing that I've done any different than any weeks before was the fact that I did this hyperbaric oxygen chamber twice in the last week. And I'm going to do it a third time on Saturday. So just a heads up. So I guess I'll do it after radio. So maybe it'll start to wear off at that point or something. Maybe that'll be it. I don't know. Anyways, it's supposed to help with the healing of the tissue in my shoulder and yeah, so I'm like, okay, that'll work. That's it. All right, news update. Too personal? Don't care. All right, now, actually, I'm sleeping in a coffin in the dirt, with the dirt of my homeland sprinkled in the base of it. Why the? Oh, so this is Roseanne. Vampires are real, and they're among us.
But then you think about the Statue of Liberty and all that. Thinking about all that and going down that rabbit hole. Boy, are we brainwashed from birth on.
Oh my God, we're so brainwashed by the Statue of Liberty.
Our first breath, we're brainwashed.
Is that when you talk about?
Sorry, our first breath. We are brainwashed. Well, if that's the case, then we're never brainwashed because we live in an environment and a society of brainwash. That would be that to be brainwashed, there has to be an other side to it that's a constant state. And whatever, this is stupid. I don't even know why I'm
Statue of Liberty, you'd done that on one of these episodes where someone was talking about how it was a symbol of Satan or something. Are we talking?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That's what I always think when I see it. I'm like, obviously a pagan goddess. It's Aphrodite.
Is that what you're talking about? I don't remember.
Yeah, there's so much out there to read about it.
Yes, there's a ton to read about it. And the French gave it to us, so you know it's like a big fertility statue. Boink, boink.
Is it a symbol of Lucifer? Because that's the light bearer.
Yeah, but Lucifer was an angel and he's a dude. All the angels are male, which should tell you something. All the bad ones, anyways.
But yeah, she has the torch.
But she also has this one chain around her one foot, which is connected to the chain around another statue's foot. That's Lucifer or some crap. You know.
Or some crap. Yeah. It's a chain. If you pull the chain, she takes a crap.
All they do is make idols and have rituals.
Really? That's it? I mean, we certainly have a lot of sports stadiums. If that's is that just a distraction? Probably.
On certain days.
You mean like Sunday or?
And they
Saturday?
Are very reptilian.
Is there someone outside? Also, she doesn't look like a reptile. She is It's the weather that turns the statue green.
They can't help themselves because they need certain things to live. That's
Sure. I feel like I need certain things to live. Freedom, the occasional touch on the hand from my beloved, the gleam in my son's eye when I see him proud of his accomplishments and happy about the potential for his life. And of course, a cloud on a warm day, you old poop.
what the whole vampire story is about. Why do you think that's so? Why do you think that's so popular?
Because it's a decent allegory for people like yourself that suck the life out of their fellow human beings.
Yeah. All lore.
Vampire story from
Yeah, that's why all lore exists. It's all a way to get the devil into your soul.
Hollywood and all of that. It's always the sexuality of the vampire, the seducer. You know, they always do that.
Well, yeah, except that he's ultimately ugly, and the point is that good-looking people can be evil, and seductive people can lure you into a terrible thing. It's a cautionary tale for that very reason. And to all the ladies out there who are like, I love me a vampire, sexy story, Twilight, whatever, I'd like to remind you that vampires are undead, and their skin is as cold as a corpse, and they don't ever warm up. Also, it allegedly has a tacky, dewy, squishy texture on the outside of it, like a jellyfish that's been left, on a counter after being in the fridge.
Yeah.
According to the lore, which is incredibly sexy.
I mean, because it's for real.
Yeah, they're always sexy, vampires in Hollywood.
No, they're not always sexy. No. I mean, look, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but Nosferatu looks like shit. I know Stephen Miller's going to be mad at me for saying that, but I don't think anybody finds him attractive. Nosferatu, that is. And the same thing is true of Dracula.
Which is very telling. It's never like some disgusting old freak.
No, that's the point. It is a disgusting old freaky thing. It's an illusion, and that's how they lure you in. That's the story they're telling, fuckwad. That's the point.
Ish vampire, you know what I mean? We talk.
Yeah, it is. They always turn into that. That's the point. When the sun hits them, that's when you see their true selves. It's an allegory. How the rich and the powerful might lure you into their castle with promises of food and fine wine and all this stuff, and they have very fine clothes, and they're very learned because they've been alive for 600 years, but they'll actually fucking kill you. That's the point. Again, if they were an ugly, gross monster, they couldn't lure you in. They'd just be a different kind of monster, dummy. It's like zombies. Zombies used to represent communism, okay? When they first came out, the idea is they're going to eat your brains, which is the one thing that makes you an independent, individual human being with your own dreams and hopes and all that kind of stuff. And they want you to be a useless worker, and so they would jump around. That's why they all moved slowly, because they couldn't be bothered to work, right? That was the thing. They were just punching a fucking clock. That's what the old zombies. The new zombies in 28 Days Later represented like stampeding and rioting poor people with blood diseases like AIDS. So they represented like three fears of the sort of middle class of what was how the end would come. It would come with like street kids throwing Molotov cocktails who had AIDS, right? That's what it was, just a stack of fears. And the reason they ran was because it was about the madness and incivility of it. It's why, like, the new vampires are about, like, vampirism used to be a curse that seemed good at first, and then it became torture because you can't die, and to stay alive you need something awful. All these stories are warnings. Yeah, look at the Lost Boys, for fuck's sake.
about that all the time. Yeah, no, there is conditioning. I think that. I think that the vampire movies are.
Yeah, to make it
Right,
sexy,
influence,
like, hey, it's cool when somebody's tempting your soul. Somebody's
Yeah.
trying to get you to get addicted to something and do wrong.
Jesus Christ. Have you read a Bible story, you dipshit? Like, that's all. What do you think the Antichrist story is? The Antichrist story is where the vampire myth comes from. That and a blood disease called erythropoietic protoporphyria, which is a disease where your skin cracks when you are in sunlight. And they used to think that if you ran out of blood, you could just pour it into your mouth and it would go back into your veins because people were fucking stupid. So they would feed kids with this particular disease. There was a lot of inbreeding in Romanian and Czech areas of Eastern Europe. They would just make them drink blood to try and fight their anemia, right? And that's, you guys don't know that? Erythropoietic protoporphyria. It's my safe word, but it's true. But the other thing was, it's the Antichrist. It's another version of the Antichrist. The Antichrist is very handsome and charming and well-read and knows the Bible and the scriptures, right? Is beloved, right? And tricks everyone. That's the vampire story. Because if it wasn't a vampire, it'd be the Wolfman, you dumb motherfucker. Ugh.
And go against your best options in life. That's sexy.
Sorry. I don't think the tale of vampire stories is that it makes you take the second best pathway in life.
Somebody's really fucking with your ability to stay alive, ladies. Woo, that's hot. That's how dumbed down they got it. That's how evil. They got us that up.
And then what do vampires live off? What do vampires live on and require in the lore? Human blood.
In the vampire lore?
Yeah. Blood.
And spirit.
Yeah. No. In the lore, it's blood. In your life, Roseanne, you are a spiritual vampire. You suck the life out of people by being around them. You diminish the room you're in, bore and scare everyone around you. You are toxic to be around, and that's what a social vampire is.
Because they say, well, blood was a code for human spirit.
Or it could just be blood. I think people are just worried about running out of blood.
Because, of course, they don't have any human spirit. So
Right.
they're looking to suck that out of somebody else.
Look, this whole experience, Roseanne, of covering your clips has been soul-sucking. But I the great thing about me is I got tons of soul to go around. You know what I mean? I'll never run out. Doesn't give you an excuse, though.
Yeah. It's what
Dumb was what she's saying. Yeah, it's dumb. You're being dumb. She's being dumb. You're both dumb. This is fucking stupid. This is ridiculous. You're both being fucking. You don't even understand the concept of horror allegory. Jesus Christ. You think the Hansel and Gretel stories are the fucking grim fairy tales where little kids got, coaxed into a house by the smell of pie by an old witch and then cooked and killed was pro-witch, you dumb motherfucker? It was a cautionary tale to keep your kids from straying off the path on their way to school so they wouldn't get raped or killed or abducted or enslaved. Stupid. Or eaten by an animal.
But it also could mean blood. Could mean blood.
It could, but you're right. Blood could it could be not blood, could be, an allegory, or it could be actual blood. We don't know, having seen all the fucking movies and shows and read the books.
Well, in the vampire lore, it's literal blood, that they bloodsuckers from your neck, and that's how they stay young. And I mean, when you actually look at it, you're like, holy shit, they've been showing us all along, and we thought it was.
Also, they don't stay young. Youth is about the newness of the soul, not about the newness of the body. And that's what the torment of the vampire is. Their body looks the same, but their spirit, their internal idea of the world withers them. That's why the idea is that the seeking for eternal life in and of itself, if anything, the real story behind the vampire myth is that seeking to extend your life beyond the natural line is wrong. It's a cautionary tale against it. It's the same as, and it comes from what, like, Fountain of Youth, people looking for the Fountain of Youth and that kind of stuff, that if you actually got it, everybody you know would die, and therefore wouldn't it be miserable, as if you wouldn't invite them all to, hey, I found it, everybody here, come here and have a sip. But the same thing is sort of true about, again, I don't even know why I'm bothering to argue this with these assholes.
How long have I been saying that?
We've been saying, well, you've been saying it for a long time. I only noticed this after talking to you.
The first time I knew it was for true when I read Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire.
You didn't read Interview with a Vampire. You didn't. What you mean is you remember when the book was popular. Or you saw the movie.
That's when I knew that it was all true.
Yeah, I felt the same way when I read Horton Hears a Who.
Yeah, it is true.
Such a great ride.
By the way, it's not true. It's not actually true. There's not actual vampires. They don't actually live. They don't drink blood to stay alive. And they certainly don't all wear French fop shirts from the mid-century. And, I don't know, have blue eyes.
I don't like how she went way out there too far for me. But
she converted to Christianity. What are you talking about?
That book was incredible.
Yeah, in what way? Was it the ending or the middle, or what was the part you liked? What was the part? What was the best part of the book? You read it. Allegorically, there must have been something in there, in the story, where they realize that it was fucking hell.
Well, vampires need human blood to survive and to stay young.
Oh, so you have read it. Man, this guy's good.
And they lie and they coax you, and it's
and
like
they can't be in the sun. They can't have no sunlight.
And they have no reflection.
Transparency.
Yeah.
No. Again, you know why vampires don't have a reflection? It's because they use magic. They use their undeadness to eliminate their reflection, because mirrors would show their true age. They can convince humans that they're young and they look normal. But if you see them in their coffin, or if you saw a true reflection of them, if you saw them in a mirror, you would see their real face. So they don't have mirrors. That's where that story came from. It's not that they don't have a reflection or they don't cast a reflection. It's that they don't have mirrors in their house because they don't want to see what they look like. Fuck me.
No reflection.
Yes. No reflection. They definitely have no self-reflection.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing about vampires. They're all busybodies. They don't have any time to do any navel gazing and think about themselves, except hundreds of years when no one's around.
Change what a vampire is. It's just somebody who wants to look a certain way so they can get their
penis in you?
Victims.
Uh-huh.
And then they'll cover it up for them because they're...
Who will? The victims will cover it up for them? So maybe they don't feel victimized. I mean, I've often... I got some sharp teeth. I've often been, said that I favor a vampire and don't age like other people. And this whole carnivore diet, I think, probably makes me suspicious to some folks. But no, I mean, I will say that in my life, I have been guilty of trying to coax people into my life as opposed to just, I don't know, snatching them off a fucking train or something.
They're good looking, famous enough, and they make
That's what that should be on my tombstone. Good looking, famous enough.
enough money for bigger vampires that, they can get away with murder.
Sorry, wait a minute. When did I become like a middle management or a vice vampire? What?
Kill their wife or whatever, get away with it, out there.
And you
in
notice
Hollywood.
they're always wealthy. You've never seen a movie where the vampire is poor. It's like, hey, I'll work for blood. They're always in a big mansion. They're always very Harvey Weinstein.
Oh my God, I should dress up. Remember that one time when I dressed up?
Okay, real quick. The Lost Boys weren't rich. And one of the reasons why they have a lot of stuff is because, this might shock people, but they tend to buy stock at a very low number. There's a lot of people that if they'd have just, I don't know, killed some rich dude, drank their blood, took their house, and then took their money and invested it in something and just went to sleep for 50 years, would wake up fucking rich.
And I went and stood in Beverly Hills with that sign.
Work for chocolate cake?
Yeah, I will. Was it I will do comedy for chocolate cake?
I think it was I will work.
I will work.
I don't remember. It was the thing you did, so maybe you should remember.
I'll look it up. I will work for chocolate cake, I think you said. But anyway.
This would be like I would work for... No,
blood.
I forgot the idea.
The point is, I think Hollywood's been telling us and showing us who they are for a long time through vampire movies and lore, and it was their...
Sorry. Are you saying the vampire stories are real, but the rom-coms and cop movies, that's just distraction? The superhero movies, the fucking, On Golden fucking Pond, the Pelican Brief, that they don't do anything. That's just fodder. That's just fucking cantaloupe in the fruit salad. But the vampire movies, that's Also, why would they? Why? If you are that thing, why? Why draw attention to it? And why make yourself into a monster? Right? Yeah, Star Trek, right? Marathon Man. What? The Fast and the Furious movie? What are you talking about? We're supposed to forget all the other kind of movies? But Space Jam is real? Absolutely.
Version of getting consent, because none of us, we talk about consent all the time.
I'm sorry, you voted for Donald Trump. You can't talk about consent.
None of us said, hey, this is freaky. We're like, ooh, they are sexy. Oh, vampires are cool. I'm going to dress up like a vampire for Halloween. And Hollywood's like, let's keep raping kids and sucking their blood and making movies. And we just went along with it. And it was only till like last year where we were like, holy shit, they were asking and forcing consent to do this because they really do this.
No, they don't. And no, they weren't.
We're going to lose our YouTube.
Hold on. Jeffrey Epstein and Puff Daddy don't get to overlay onto fucking Hollywood because of 0.1% of the topics that Hollywood covers.
Monetization.
Well, a very small percentage of them do it. I mean, a very small percentage of them do it. However, in the larger sphere of things, and people...
Yeah. Obviously, the different industries, like insurance.
At the very tip top of things. Mm-hmm. It's just...
Yes, the elites of all industries. The people who run Carl's Jr. and the CEO of Sonic. And...
just an old pharaonic... It's just feudalism.
Yeah.
It's a pyramid structure, a pyramid scheme. And, there's a few at the tippy top and a lot at the bottom.
Okay. So vampirism is a pyramid scheme. And so you're saying that if I let them bite me, I won't get all those magic powers? even though I will live forever and nobody can kill me except driving a stake through my heart, or but I just can't go out in the sun again. But I can go to a tanning booth apparently, because that's not the actual sun. So I don't know why I'd have to be so pale the whole fucking time. Maybe if you put a tanning lights inside the coffin, and then hook them up to an Arduino board, and then just like a timer. Nah.
And keep the lot at the bottom. You got to crush them, and you can't
all the newbies that haven't fully turned yet, you just drink half their blood, and then when they get close and they're like, hey, I want to be a full vampire, you kick them out of the car in the sunlight and they turn into dust and you just snort them.
I told you that one princess I talked to, why the royals didn't like the Jews.
What did she say?
Well, because they started telling everybody all this democracy shit, and the people ended up with nothing, way less than they had when they lived under, a decent king or monarch.
Okay, this I mean, I guess it had to come to this eventually. So this is pro-monarchy screed, which is odd because there in the modern version of vampires, there's been, like True Blood would be a good example of this, is there's been kind of a push for normalization of them, blue collar vampires, as it were.
So they destroyed all the monarchies with democracy, which
fucking Jews. Right? When they should have just let the vampires run everything. What are you talking about, woman?
is like mob rule and the worst thing in the world. And, that's Marxism 102, when you paint mob rule as civility.
Wasn't that what the Bolsheviks did?
Yeah.
All right. The train has completely left the tracks. This is... her son is guilty of elder abuse. That's the only thing I can come up with. Or they're both high.
See, no one's ever put it like that. That's why I love you in the show. Like, that's because
you should love her because she's your mom, I think. I don't know. I don't need a reason to love my mom. I don't know about you. And certainly if I did, the reason wouldn't be, you say the nuttiest shit, Mom.
A lot of people hate Jews because of the Bolsheviks. I follow a lot of the alt-right Nazi accounts. And they say this is the Jews behind all this shit. And I'm like, hey, I love democracy and I love Western ideals and I love Israel for that reason. And then they keep saying it, but I never really thought about it. Like, it doesn't work. Democratic republics work, but mob rule does not work. That's
never.
True.
Never.
Wow.
Sorry, really? I'm really glad the Mob Rule Act of 2023 didn't pass.
No, democracies are shit.
Yeah.
Democracies are, they love them because they all end up with, 3 families at the top and everybody else is starving. That's a democracy.
I'm sorry, and a monarchy's better because you have one family at the top?
See.
Oh, you see? All right, that's the end of the thoughts. It started with vampires, lovely, and sexy and exciting, and that's what they want you to think. And it ended with democracy sucks. That's why it's good that Trump is running things, because he's basically going to be a monarch. Even though I got to say, Trump looks like when you see that when the sun starts to hit a vampire and he starts to melt. Yeah. I don't even know where. Again, part of this. Here's the thing. I always wonder what we can take away from some of these things. Right. That's the key. And the reality is, what we can take away from this is that they are so lost without a specific enemy, because all they need is an enemy. A lot of us, I think, were taking it personally, both on and that's what being offended is, taking something personally on someone else's behalf. And so I think a lot of the offense over the last 8 years, especially with Trump just in the cycle, has been that people have sort of given away their agency and their power because we're offended or feel attacked and take it personally when he attacks people and all this stuff. But in reality, he doesn't give a shit about us or what we want or what we do. He doesn't know the difference between Democratic ideals and Republican ideals. He just knows there's an us and there's a them, and he just needs a them to exist. Right? And I think that's part of the lesson we have to learn, is that we've got to convince some of these idiots that we're not with them, but we're not the them that they're hating, and just watch them tear each other apart. And my example would be when Republicans attack rhinos all the time. If we're not there to be attacked, since all they know is attack, they go after each other. And there's an element of just kind of like letting it happen. And if you do have to step in to help people because there are material issues created by Trump and his ilk and the policies that they want to do, and you need to help the people that are going to be negatively affected, you do it in such a way that almost doesn't involve him. You do it on the state level and the personal level through charity and that kind of stuff, because it's only the only option we really have that has any point of power while they have the House and the Senate, right? But we don't allow ourselves to be dragged into fucking pissing contests or flame wars on shit or any of these things, because we're committed to the ideas that we like to talk about here, about like healthcare and solving things like homelessness and taking care of veterans and making sure that minorities have every chance everybody else does. Like, that's just normal to what we do. And when those people are attacked, we feel like we have to attack back on their behalf or on our own behalf if you're part of one of the groups that are being attacked. But the reality is, they only know their worth by whether or not they're being attacked. And so if you literally said, yeah, go right ahead, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves in some cases. Now, obviously, there are areas where you can't do that. You can't just bait them through like a bull with a red cape and you're just moving out of the way, because people will genuinely be harmed. But you can draw attention away from something else. You can, and again, this is where we talk about shoving the presidency down Trump's throat. What happened with the airline crash is terrible, and him blaming the previous administration is just fucking dumb, and getting out of a solution or blaming it on somebody else isn't going to work. And so people need to bother him with that. When he said he's got a healthcare plan and concepts of a healthcare plan, we need to be on him every fucking day. Let's hear it. I'm not against your plan. I don't know what your fucking plan is. Let's hear it. We're all ears, motherfucker. I would love to see your healthcare plan is really more functional than you don't have a fucking stupid healthcare plan, because then he doesn't have to show it because he's liking the rise. But if you're like, I would love to see it on paper, right? I want to see this written out. I want to see this plan that you have. I think everybody does, right? So I think what we're going to have to look at is in a situation where, and I've talked about this before, but in martial arts, in the arts that I've studied, I know they're not ubiquitous across anything, and people use different languaging. But my teacher used to talk about cutting angles, which is that you can't punch a tiger in the nose because the tiger is too big and it's got too much force because it's something straight at you. But its flanks are actually really soft. You ever seen the side of a cat? Its haunches are very big. Its neck is incredibly powerful. And even to some degree, its tail has a lot of muscle in it, and its back legs are tough. But its ribs and its abdomen are quite unguarded, right? Because nature has put all of its force into one position. So when you're fighting something like that, you're going to cut angles. If somebody's just a fucking bulldog, you can't just punch at their shoulders and their neck and their head because they could just take it like the fucking juggernaut. The same thing is true in this situation. You have to look for openings. And one of the openings is these folks just need to fight with somebody. And if it isn't you, if you don't give them that fight, they will just go find someone to fight with. And it will be the first person they talk to. And the first person they talk to is going to be one of their own. And that's exactly what's fucking happening right now between the rhinos and the maggots. Now, I wrote that thing on my Substack about the stroke of the pen fallacy because I wanted to get that on paper. And so, or digital paper, but you know what I mean? So that it could be pretty clear. But the stroke of the pen fallacy, even if I put it out there and explained it to people, not everybody's going to understand what it is and not implement it or not get pulled into it. Okay. It's crucial that you know that even with the best information and the most information you get, a lot of people aren't going to act on that information. Okay. And so, even if I told all the maggots in the world about the stroke of the pen fallacy, and they're not going to let Biden off the hook or suddenly think differently about Trump or something. And even Glenn Beck tonight in his clip, seriously, in the Glenn Beck, I want to see the paperwork. Remember that? Like, he wanted to see the FAA paperwork. He doesn't believe Trump. He wants to see the paperwork because he doesn't trust anybody. That's what he said. Now, it's full of shit. It's just because he's embarrassed because he looks like a dipshit. That doesn't matter. What matters is what he articulates and then what he does. Whether he's lying about it is immaterial, especially if he lies himself out over his skis, which is good for us and good for anybody who's pointing to his bullshit. Substack's like just like a writing site that I joined because of Political Voices, because we're going to be doing a tour with me and John Fugelsang and Frangela, because Steph doesn't want to do it anymore. So we're going to go out, the rest of us, on a tour, and it's going to be around the Political Voices Network, which has Steph and Tom Hartman and Randy Rhodes and all these other folks. So we're building that so that we can go out that, okay? So the stroke of the pen fallacy is the idea that somebody magically has the ability to just sign a bill or sign a piece of paper or sign a check and automatically make the problem go away, which is never the case. And the people who believe it's the case will often end up hating the very people they support, because they can't imagine why this person wouldn't just solve the fucking problem. It's right there. Even though that person will go, it's actually not going to work. That part's illegal and we can't do this because there's laws about it. There's a reason, blah, blah, blah. So and we're going to live stream those shows. I want to do all of them, but we're going to do at least one a weekend when we're out. That said, and thanks, Nikki D. So I wanted to put that together so people can understand how it's weaponized and how it builds this kind of nihilistic disengagement where people are like, if they won't do the easy thing, I'm out. They could just do this and this would all be fine. And if they're not doing it, it's because they're either stupid, but they can't be stupid because I just told them, so they must be evil. Right? That's where that runs. So the reason I posted that is because I wanted everybody to be aware of not falling for it themselves. The Republicans, though, are still going to fall for it. They're going to be mad. They're not going to understand why the fucking prices go down. And Glenn Beck and Elon Musk, who are both rich, telling them that, well, prices are going to go up a little bit. Farm workers on farm workers and farm workers, right? They don't give a fuck. They were promised lower prices. And if the prices don't come down in the next fucking 90 days, they're going to get antsy. And if they don't come down in the next 6 months, they're going to get mad. And if they don't come back down by the fall and Christmas sucks, they're going to be on fire. And we don't need them turning to Democrats and going, Democrats have been obstructing this whole time. They've done a nothing but obstruction attitude. They're standing in the way of all this, and it's their fault. We need them to know that it's Trump's fault and he promised them everything and that it would be easy. That's the only conversation we need to have with these assholes. We don't need, I don't need to hear about which Democrats are, are being too nice or not nice enough, or back and forth about which, like they let some people through or they voted against somebody and the mid-zone, they should just stand. I don't want to hear any of that shit. There's way too much attention needs to be paid to the fact that Donald Trump promised everybody everything, and if he doesn't deliver on everything, he's nothing. That's got to be the conversation. End of fucking story. If that makes sense. The ICE hotline was shut down because everybody was reporting Elon Musk as an illegal alien. That's the stuff we could do. Because, again, that's a great example. What about if people saw that? The ICE hotline being shut down because people were reporting Musk as an illegal alien, because they set the standard. All of them got to go, even if some of them are nice, and we got to pull babies out of the hands of their mothers, and it's going to be sad, and the news stories are going to, but we got to do it. That was Trump's sales pitch, right? We got to do it. Okay, motherfucker, well, there's a guy right next to you who came here and worked illegally and needs to be sent home. If that's true of anybody, it's true. Or if it's true of everybody, it's true of him. Punt that motherfucker, right? Because it's their standard. In those situations, you can go, well, they're hypocrites and they don't care. Doesn't matter. It's they create the weapon, you get to use it. Always and every time. And again, that's how you shove the presidency down his throat in that regard. That's what people were like talking about as a strategy. And it's absolutely right. Being president fucking sucks. Everybody ages prematurely because of it. And it's Trump's turn. It ain't a game. He's not going to be able to fucking golf his way out of this one. The last time in the 4th year, he had a fucking pandemic. And in his head, he's like, what's going to happen in my last year? It's going to, this sucks. He didn't want to win it in the first place. He's just trying to stay out of jail. But now that he's in there, he's responsible for everything and everyone. I don't want to, if you're the greatest leader that's ever heard of, I don't want to hear you blaming anybody else for anything that happens from the moment you took the oath to the moment you leave the fucking office. By however means you leave. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about the varying degrees of whether Dems are too nice or too mean or back and forth or whether they should go or what bill they should fight him on. No. The primary message, Donald Trump promised everybody everything, which means he's promised you something that you probably actually like. Debt ceiling comes to mind. Be on him about it. Like fucking daily. Letters. The Democrats should be sending letters to the White House, old-fashioned letters written on paper, specifically saying, I know you have a plan for health care. Here's a terrible situation that is in. This is, medical bankruptcies are, will go up if this, whatever. What is your plan? You need to tell us right now. And he needs to get thousands of those fucking letters. Anything where he was like, I got a concept of a plan. Well, pony up, motherfucker. That's where the pressure actually lies. Because he hates it. And he doesn't want to do it. And he knows he's a liar. Yeah, if he said, I alone can fix it, then he needs to get letters every day saying, why isn't it fixed yet? Right? That's the point. I thought Ukraine was going to be solved in 24 hours and not by cutting their fucking funding. I thought you had a peace plan. You were going to get both of them on the fucking phone, right? That's what he needs to hear every day, the entire time he's in office, from everybody. The burden of the office should be on his shoulders like it has been on the shoulders of every president before him. Just because he chooses not to give a fuck doesn't mean he gets to dodge it this time. Instead of shouldering him with the realistic issues with what he does legally, shoulder him with the presidency. All other presidents have had to do it, except him. And Anthony's saying Trump doesn't read anything. I agree, but his people do. And they'll take it as a note. It doesn't matter. Again, the pressure of it alone has an impact. And again, and again, and again, and again. You want it, you got it. Nobody wins the presidency. You get a job. And in many ways, it is the worst and toughest job on the fucking planet. There is a certain amount of power and privilege that comes from it and that you can enact, but for the rest of your life, you are going to have 9 people following you to the toilet. Yeah, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Absolutely. And we need to make him feel the weight because he refuses to. If that makes sense. And, oh my God. How did this get here? Who put this here?
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Oh no. that like, everybody. Love you guys. Thank you. We need to reach out to Andrea. We need to reach out to Roseanne and see if I can get on her show or she can be on mine. Specifically because I think she's bananas. She knows who I am. I've done shows with her. She owes me, as a matter of fact, but I'll tell her that later.